We're continuing our coverage tonight on the high-profile trial of the man accused of killing Sade Robinson.
Opening statements, new evidence, witness testimony, all today. There's a lot to cover from the proceedings, and we are once again joined by criminal defense attorney Julius Kim of Kim and LaVoy. Why don't we start with opening statements?
Yeah, in those opening statements, the state asked the jury to use common sense and to search for the truth. The state really, Julius, has to connect the dots here. They have to put together, it's kind of like putting together furniture. Grab the wrench, a bolt here, very methodically connecting those dots, correct?
That's exactly right. That's what the state did today. There's a lot of different facts here, especially for circumstantial cases. You have to build this tower, the structure, if you will, and it's kind of like the game Jenga. What the defense is trying to do now is they're trying to slowly pull out blocks from this tower to see if that tower can ultimately fall in the end.
Well, let's talk about that, because Tony Cotton, the defense attorney here, he began his opening statement saying, we agree with A, B, C, and D from the state. What we don't agree with X, Y, Z. X, there's no murder weapon, there's no alibi, there's no motivation, there's no DNA. He's already planting the seeds of reasonable doubt.
I think that the defense did a good job today of pointing out the other side of things, because the state puts forth all the evidence that they do have, right? But oftentimes, as defense attorneys, what we have to do is we have to ask jurors to think critically and think about the evidence that they don't have. And that's what the defense did today. Ultimately, what they don't have is Maxwell Anderson any direct evidence that Maxwell Anderson committed these crimes.
In the opening statements, the state didn't mention it, but the defense mentioned a downstairs tenant in that duplex who was a very light sleeper. Apparently, if a dog was chewing a bone upstairs, he would call and complain. Didn't hear a thing that night. His testimony is going to be very interesting when it comes.
Yeah, my ears sure perked up when I heard that testimony, too, because if there was all this stuff that happened, if someone was being murdered in the upstairs apartment, then you would think that someone would actually hear something, and evidently this person didn't hear anything. So that kind of begs the question, what happened, where, and who did it?
15 jurors told to stay off social media. They're not to read the paper, they're not to read news, not to watch television, just absolutely focus on this, not talk to anybody. Is that possible in this day and age?
Yeah, I think it's very hard to do because we're all so programmed to use our electronic devices, our phones, et cetera. But I think it's possible to do. They're not prohibited from having any contact with anyone from the outside world. They just can't talk about the case. And so I think that jurors can uphold that obligation while the case is going on.
I want to ask about the final witness of the day. It was the woman who called. She was a co-worker, Sade Robinson, said we can't find her. She hasn't shown up for work. And the prosecution said, can you physically describe her? Trying to get to the point that she was a petite woman. Where are they going with that? We already knew she was a petite woman.
Yeah, as a trial lawyer, you kind of look at things with a little bit different lens. And it was a question that I think was thrown out there as a foundational question because they were about to show a picture of Sade Robinson to this person. But also, it was clear from this person's testimony that she was getting emotional by recalling Sade Robinson and what happened. And I think that by having her emote in that way, it really humanized Sade Robinson for the jury again at that particular time.
That's got to be a main goal, to humanize her, to make her look at this as a person, as a daughter, as a young girl who's just going out on a first date.
Absolutely, because right now the state is putting together this case methodically, and some of these facts are a little mundane, it can be a little tedious, but every once in a while you want to show pictures of Sade Robinson. You want people to talk about her because as a prosecutor, you never want the jury to forget about the person that this is all about.
What was the most interesting thing that happened today to you? Because you look at it from a slightly different lens than we do.
Yeah, I thought that the opening statements were really important today. If you think about it, attorneys only have 3 opportunities to talk directly to a jury. That is voir dire, or the jury selection, opening statement, and closing arguments. And through opening statement, we got to have a little bit of glimpse in terms of what the defense is trying to get at here. And what they're trying to say is, listen, they're not going to be able to prove, they don't have any direct evidence that Maxwell Anderson was the one who actually did these things.
Excellent. You always give such great insight, and we look forward to hearing more from you and your firm tomorrow night. Thank you.
Julius Kim of Kim and LaVoy.